The superpower that every citizen has is the ability to control where they spend their time, money, and attention. By focusing these on supporting local businesses, you are having a profound impact on your friends, your family, and your local community. So if you want to change the world, you can start with buying local. Welcome back, everyone, to Buying Local. I am your host, Mike Nelson, joined today by Aimee Woodhouse from Aimee Lactation Consulting. Yes,
you got it.
I did it. Hooray me. And you can't see, but she's holding up her rack card right now. And you are an RN. What does IBCLC stand for?
That's a wonderful question, Mike. Thank you so much for having me today.
You are welcome.
Looking forward to talking with you.
Yeah.
So an IBCLC is an international board-certified lactation consultant. I am also a registered nurse, so I'm sure you know what an RN is.
Yes.
But as far as the certification I have for breastfeeding, it is the highest certification that you can have, and it's fairly rigorous to get. So I am not just someone who says, oh, I like to help moms with breastfeeding.
Right.
I have a lot of education in order to be able to do that in a very productive way.
And it's interesting because I know when we met at the chamber event, want to make sure I give the chamber a shout out. Actually, and before we go on, because I forgot last episode to give a huge shout out and thank you to Dan and the team over at the Eden Center for Integrative Care, which is where we are right now recording this podcast. They have been very gracious in hosting us here when we're recording in Glens Falls. So big shout out to those guys. And if you're not familiar with the Eden Center, who they are, what they do, please check them out. I believe it's the Eden. I'm going to mess their website up. Check the show notes. We will have Mac, our producer, put the website address in
Google
the show notes.
Eden Center, Glens Falls.
That too, the Google machine, yes. So, but back to giving the chamber a shout. I'm just giving everybody shout outs right now. So we met at the chamber event at the Shapier, I believe it was.
Yes, we did.
It was a great event.
It was wonderful.
This chamber is great. They put on great events.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Is this your first time being a chamber member?
Yes, very recently, right before the Shapier event, I had joined.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Well, you're very lucky then, because this is an amazing chamber and their events are amazing. And that is not always true for all chambers at all times. So
I've heard that.
yeah, they got a great team. Tisha and Amanda and everybody's just awesome. So
I agree.
so we were talking and having a somewhat awkward, uncomfortable conversation because I'm a guy and you do what you do, so it can be a little tough to talk about for guys, I guess, maybe. Maybe not all guys, but it is a little weird for me, I think. But
You did fine.
I did okay.
Yeah, you did okay.
Good. But it sounded like really amazing stuff that you are helping a lot of new moms with. And so we wanted to get you in here, obviously, talk about it, right? Mm-hmm. And so, just to kind of give our listeners a little idea, like what does a lactation consultant do? Like how do you help people?
That is a great question. So I am meeting moms at one of their most vulnerable points in their lives. Mm-hmm. They are trying to feed their baby and to do so by breastfeeding. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't always go in a straightforward manner. There are usually initially some hurdles to overcome, especially if it's a mom's first baby. Mm-hmm. Of course, the baby's never done it before. The mother's never done it before. Even if she's taken a class, the baby didn't take the class.
Right.
The baby hasn't read a textbook.
Right.
And so I am able, with the education that I have and the experience that I have, to problem solve with them. Okay. And to address their concerns. Very common ones would be pain when they're breastfeeding, maybe not making enough milk. Sometimes it happens that the baby is losing weight or not gaining weight quickly enough. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of other health concerns. Sometimes babies have tongue ties that are preventing them from breastfeeding well. Or a mother may have a health condition that's impacting her ability to either breastfeed or make enough milk. Or maybe the baby's premature. And so there's a lot of factors that can come into play. So it's not always just one thing. Many times I'm addressing many things. Probably the easiest and most common things I address are just how to latch your baby and how to position your baby at the breast. sometimes a mother is in a lot of pain because she's not doing that correctly. And so I can just come in and like immediately solve her problem in one visit. And she is very grateful.
It probably changes their life.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes. And so she's about to give up and in tears, and I am able to help her with some simple fixes. So those are the best, easiest appointments, of course, but some of them are very complex, and I see mothers multiple times for follow-up to work through all of the problems.
So how does one get into this line of work? Like, how did you end up here? You know,
Right.
You're an RN. Did you go to school specifically because you wanted to work with mothers in this fashion, or?
So not exactly in this fashion. When I went to school to become a nurse, I was thinking I would love to be a maternity nurse. Mm-hmm. And so that is what I did first. I worked in hospitals as a maternity nurse in labor and delivery, postpartum, and newborn nursery. Which I loved, but that is very, you're just seeing moms for a very short time. Mm-hmm. And it's, of course, shift work, night shifts.
Yeah.
You know, it's the hospital environment. And so it's a little different. But what I was seeing is that when moms went home, they did not have the support they needed to continue successfully breastfeeding. Okay. And so about 10 years ago, we were being encouraged to get further certifications other than just our nursing license. Okay. Because you can get certified in your nursing specialty. So I could have done like a maternal newborn certification or something like that. But instead I chose to get my IBCLC, my lactation certification. And that involved 1,000 hours of clinical work, 95 hours of specific lactation education, and then also a whole bunch of college classes. So it was a very involved process, but something that just for the time period worked perfectly because I needed to get a certification anyway. So I pursued something that was my passion instead of just checking off boxes. And so my coworkers also had encouraged me to get that certification. Anytime there was a breastfeeding problem, I was always the nurse they would have to come and help the mom. And so some of them would call me like, "You're just the breast goddess. I need your help. Come here."
Is this where your other possible brand name was born?
Yes. So yes, I have been called different things. And it was actually my husband who suggested when I started my private practice that I call the name of my business the Boob Whisperer.
Which, for the record, I still think is brilliance in marketing. But
yes. And so I actually mentioned that to my small business advisor, and he was like, "That is a brilliant piece of marketing."
I mean, it really is.
Yes. And of course, my husband thought so too. I mean, can you imagine driving around town with the Boob Whisperer on the side of your vehicle?
I'm trying to not think about what the logo would look like, but it's hilarious, and obviously no one is going to forget that.
Right, and it would make them look twice.
Yes.
And what does she do?
Yeah. Right, yeah.
So I did consider, I had to seriously consider that brilliance,
yes.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
However, I also am a part of the healthcare team. I have to send reports to physicians and interact in a more serious way. So I did end up going with Aimee Lactation Consulting.
Instead.
Yes, you can hear, exactly what I do. It's my name. And A, it's the first letter of the alphabet.
That's true. That's true.
It may show up first sometimes.
In the phone book.
Yeah, right?
I think there's still phone books.
Is there still such a thing?
I think there are, yeah.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I see something in a bag on the street, and I'm like, that might be a phone book. Remember those? My kids don't even know what phone books are, but...
Yeah. So I did just have it suggested to me, maybe you could make a blog and call that the Boob Whisperer.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And I thought that was a pretty good idea.
I think you should capitalize on that for sure. I think the blog's a great idea for sure. I wonder if the boobwhisperer.com is still available.
Ooh.
Better check it out before we release this episode. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Because then everybody's going to know.
That's right. Well, everyone's going to want that web address for sure.
That's it. Yeah.
It's going to drive the price up. So, and that was how long ago that you were at the hospital?
So this was 10 years ago. This was in Western New York, not at our local hospital here.
Oh, gotcha.
And we didn't have a lactation consultant there at all. So I got my certification there and worked as a nurse and a lactation consultant there.
Okay.
And then about 6 years ago, we moved back to this area. This is where I am originally from.
Oh, nice.
And I have worked at Glens Falls Hospital as a lactation consultant. And then about 2.5 years ago, I was still seeing this great need in the community for private practice lactation consultants, because at the hospital, we were dismissing patients to home. And then a lot of problems arise after a mom goes home. It's a very different scenario in the hospital. Her milk comes in after she goes home, and
just going home is scary.
Exactly. You bring this real, live human being home that you are responsible to keep alive.
And that whole support staff that you had for like maybe a week, if you're lucky, like they're gone. And it's like, I remember bringing my first child home, and I was just like, oh my God, like we're in trouble.
This is up to us.
Yeah.
And there's no bell to ring.
Yeah, this poor kid.
Right.
There's no bell to ring. Right, exactly. I can't push a button and support comes and helps me do things. But
exactly. So Glens Falls Hospital does an amazing job with breastfeeding and lactation support within the hospital. They're so supportive of new mothers. But I could see this area and this need that wasn't being filled. And so I decided to start my private practice and began doing home visits to moms in the comfort of their own home so that they could breastfeed their baby in their own environment where they would normally breastfeed their baby.
Right.
And be able to use their own pillows and in the timing that works for them. Instead of the mom having to pack up her brand new newborn baby, bring them out somewhere to find help, I'm able to go directly to her home and meet her there and work on her problems. And I do a very in-depth and extensive consult with her, helping her to figure out what her breastfeeding goals are and then find ways and solutions that I can help her meet those goals. And I'll usually give her several different options and help her understand, like, if you choose this, this might happen. If you choose this, it could impact your milk supply. Are you okay with that? And so I'm trying to give her options and not just come in with, these are the rules, do what I say.
Right.
And so I try to really understand a mom and where she is coming from, to see her as a person and to know, as a mother myself of 3 children, I know what it's like to be in her position.
Sure.
And you have just given birth. Well, first of all, you've just created a whole human in your womb for 9 months and the incredible changes that does to you as a woman. And then you gave birth. You went through perhaps labor and or major abdominal surgery. You're now in pain, and you usually at least lost 1 night of sleep through that process, so you're exhausted.
Yeah. It's like major trauma.
Major changes. And then your hormones completely change once the placenta breaks away. So now you've had a huge hormonal change, lack of sleep. Then you're handed this brand new human being, and you have no idea how to feed it, but everybody just expects you to because you're the mother.
Yeah.
And so moms are at a very vulnerable point in their lives. And then if that's not going smoothly and she feels like a failure as a mother, or like her baby's starving or she's starved her baby, that can be very devastating to a woman. And because she has lack of sleep, that's just adding to the whole soup of her state of mind. So what I do is try to come in and see her where she's at and bring calm to the situation, bring hope, give her tools she can use to change what's happening. And so almost always when I leave, they feel so much more hopeful and relieved. They know they have a plan that they can implement and find some solutions to what she's facing.
Yeah. That sounds like a lot of nice support.
Exactly. Just what a mother needs.
Yes, I know that, unfortunately, most of us dads are not able to give that type of support.
Dads are wonderful. I don't ever knock dads. Yeah.
I just, having been through it 4 times now,
Yes.
it's kind of tough. You're really ill-equipped in a lot of scenarios.
It's an intense situation for sure. Yes. But I think just if a woman has the dad there, that's just a huge support in and of itself, and to know he's supportive of what she's doing. Yeah. That's a support.
Yeah. But, well, we're trying.
Yeah.
So how people are finding you? Are they working through their primary, or how does that work? Like how do
Right. So I would love it if more providers were aware that my services were available. I have definitely tried to spread that word, but it's not always easy to get to the provider. But some do come through providers. Usually that would be through pediatricians because the mom has a baby who's losing weight or something like that.
Yeah, because once you're released, you have to go to your pediatrician. What is it, within 72 hours or something?
Yeah, within a day or two, they usually like to see breastfed babies just to check to see if there's any weight loss or anything.
Which would be a key indicator that they're not eating well, I would imagine.
Correct.
In some cases.
It might mean they could be sucking, but maybe they're not sucking effectively enough to remove milk or enough milk. So,
it's crazy. I know when you first said it at the thing, I was like, wow, is it really that common of a problem?
Yes.
And you say that it is. Yeah. Yes. That's crazy.
Yes. So other ways, honestly, the most common way that women find me is Google at 2 a.m.
Google at 2 a.m. when they haven't slept and they're just like, I'm going to Google.
Yes. But I actually keep track of how they find me, and it is a wide array of things, and I've just spread my net wide, and I always find there's a couple from each area I've touched on to try to market to. Or another one is doulas. Are you familiar with what they are?
I am. Yeah, we had a doula for my youngest son.
Okay, actually. So they're wonderful, and they help moms give birth. They support them during that time. So I have networked with some of them, and of course, they'll see moms who may need some of my help, and they'll refer clients to me.
I'm trying to think of what our doula's name was, actually. She was great. She's down Saratoga.
Was her name Tisha?
It was.
Yes, I love Tisha.
Yeah, she was great.
Shout out to Tisha Graham.
Yeah, for sure. She was amazing. Yes. And I know that Kristen really loved having her there. And, she's definitely, I forget what she said, but she's helped a lot of women bring children.
Oh, yeah, she's been doing it for a while. Yeah. Yes, so she has actually sent quite a few moms my way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
She's very supportive. So.
Yeah, I definitely... that was actually the only child that we had a doula for.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. It definitely, the whole experience, I think, just really made it easier, educated us on things that, even though it was number 4 for me, I still did not know. So it was cool. Yeah, it was a cool experience. So
absolutely.
So you get referrals from doulas,
yes.
pediatricians.
Yes, sometimes OBGYNs. And Google is probably the biggest.
Google. So you've done your website correctly then.
Yes, with my husband's help.
Nice. Very nice.
Yes.
And then I know you had mentioned too when we were talking before is that you actually can accept insurance as well, which is probably huge.
Yes. So this is actually a newer thing in lactation care. When the Affordable Care Act was passed, part of that was that it should cover lactation consults. So insurance companies would then be required to cover them. However, insurance companies didn't just automatically run out and make a way for that to happen.
Right.
They didn't credential lactation consultants automatically after that. And so it's been a very slow process because this has been over 10 years ago now. And only very recently have some insurance companies made a way that lactation consultants could be in network. So what I was actually having to do when I first opened my practice was charge a mom my self-pay fee. Then she would have to seek reimbursement from her insurance company for an out-of-network provider. Gotcha. And sometimes they'd make her jump through hoops to do that or try not to pay if they could help it. And so it was just a barrier to care because not every mom could pay out of pocket. Not every mom had the mental, focus at that point to focus on getting her reimbursement back from the insurance company when she's caring for a newborn.
Yeah.
And then Medicaid was not reimbursing at all. So there was definitely a lack of access to care, meaning women who could not afford it could not get the care they needed.
Yeah.
And so that became very frustrating to me and something I became passionate about. And I'm like, okay, we have to figure out ways to get this covered for mom because they can't get the services they need.
Yeah, which is crazy.
And they're supposed to be paid for. That made it even more frustrating. So I actually ended up contracting with a couple of different grassroots organizations that were able to do some billing for me. And that opened up quite a handful of health insurances that I could accept, which was wonderful. And then most recently, I actually became an in-network provider with CDPHP, and they're one of our local companies. And they recently started credentialing lactation consultants. And in their contract with us, they also cover the Medicaid patients. So essentially, any mother who has CDPHP as her health insurance, it does not matter what the plan is, they will cover unlimited lactation consults if it's with an in-network provider at no cost to the mother.
That's awesome.
So that's amazing. Like if she's dealing with something complex, I can literally go to her house every week if she needs that kind of support. So they have done an amazing job of helping their breastfeeding mothers. Yeah. And we have a lot of those moms in our community. A lot of the Medicaid moms are CDPHP moms. So that is fantastic. But they don't all know that's available to them because it's very new.
Right.
So I am passionate about trying to get that word out.
Get it out there. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, hopefully we'll help a little bit.
Yeah. So that has revolutionized my practice. And I feel like I have so much more to offer now that I can accept quite a list of health insurances because that's obviously a huge value. Not only, can I help you, but it can be completely covered by your health insurance.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. And good for you, CDPHP.
I know.
Nice job.
I know, right?
Still good people in the world.
There is.
So now, do you recommend new moms, they hear about this, do they wait till there's an issue before they call you, or should they get you in right out of the gate just to make sure that they are good to go?
I actually recommend a prenatal visit.
Okay.
And the health insurance companies, most of them will cover a prenatal visit, and I can do a personalized class about breastfeeding, or we can just talk about her concerns. I can give her, my most important tips and then address any specific concerns she may have. Then she already has a relationship with me. She knows if she's comfortable with me. And then when she does have her baby, I know who she is. So if she contacts me, I'll be sure to prioritize fitting her into my schedule. And I even recommend for any mom, really, she can use at least one visit after she goes home because a lot of moms need reassurance at that point that the latch is okay, that the baby is gaining well. And also they often want to know, is my baby getting enough milk at the breast or are they getting any milk? Sometimes a mom can't tell that. And I have a neat way of telling that because, of course, with breastfeeding, women don't have ounce markings on their breasts like a bottle does, right? So that can be concerning to parents. And so a tool that I have that I can use is I have a very specialized scale that is very sensitive down to the 2-gram increment, which means I can tell how much breast milk a baby takes in at the breast by weighing them before they feed and then after they feed. And so this can be very reassuring information to the parents, and it can give us great information to work from to develop our care plan. Sometimes it's like, no, actually, baby's getting plenty of milk. You're good. Yeah. Or it's like, okay, not quite enough. So what do we need to do? We'll need to do measures to boost mom's milk supply. I'll have to do a very thorough, what we would call an oral assessment on the baby to make sure there's no oral tethers, tongue ties, lip ties, or other ties that might be inhibiting the baby's ability to suck effectively at the breast. And then also, we have to make sure the baby's getting fed. So If a mom doesn't have enough milk or the baby can't remove the milk effectively enough, then we have to make a plan for the baby to be fed, right? So I'm not someone who says breast milk only. There are definitely medical reasons that we would need to give a baby formula. And I am always very proactive at making sure the baby is fed primarily. And then my second goal is to make sure mom's milk supply is protected and promoted.
What does that mean, protected and promoted?
Well, protected would mean, so a mom makes enough milk based on the demand from her body.
Okay.
So it's the law of supply and demand. The more milk that's demanded from her, the more milk she will make. Now, if mom starts giving her baby formula, maybe the doctor said she should, or she's afraid she's not making enough milk, so she gives the baby formula. She's actually then telling her body to make less milk, because now the baby's had a feeding of formula, their belly's going to get really full. They're going to be less interested in feeding at the breast. Next time they come back, their belly will have been all stretched out with all this formula. So they will stimulate the breast less, first of all, because they skipped a feeding. And secondly, typically they're just less interested. And so now she was already afraid she wasn't making enough milk. Now she may be making even less milk. And that can become a cycle.
Sure.
It can just keep repeating itself and get worse and worse and spiral down. And some moms just aren't aware that that's how it works. You must demand more milk from your body in order to make more. And so to protect her milk supply, if she's giving formula, we then have to still demand the amount of milk that the baby needs from the mother. So if the baby can't do that, then we need to use a breast pump to do that.
Gotcha. And you help them through the whole process.
I help them through the whole thing and figuring out how much formula to give the baby, because sometimes a mom is actually breastfeeding the little amount she may have. Then she's pumping and giving the baby a bottle of either what she pumps or with formula. So by doing my measurements and my assessment of the whole scenario, I can help her determine, based on the baby's age and weight and all of the factors, how much formula to give in the bottle. Versus, or in addition to what they're getting at the breast.
For the supplementation, okay.
Right. And then we do follow-ups in another week to check what has changed. Has your milk supply increased? Are they getting more milk at the breast now? And it's such a wonderful process when in several weeks they graduate and the baby's fully breastfeeding and getting everything they need from mom's breast.
Yeah. Baby's happy, mom's happy.
Exactly.
Everybody's happy.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So, wanted to try to make sure we didn't miss anything. I think we've covered most everything.
We covered a
so
lot
far.
of good stuff.
Good stuff. So, so if people want to find you, or if they're looking for more information on who you are and what you do, how do they find you?
So they can go right to my website at www.aimeelactation.com. But the tricky part here is Aimee is not spelled the traditional way. It's spelled the French way. So that is AIMEE lactation.com. Okay. Now, you can just Google me and you will find me very easily, because I am the only IBCLC who has a private practice in Queensbury or Glens Falls, or really anywhere within quite a distance.
It's got the market cornered.
Kind of. I mean, people could encroach on it, but
don't.
But they wouldn't dare.
Right. And of course, can find you through the Google, as people do.
Of course.
Yes.
I am on Facebook and Instagram at Aimee Lactation in those spots. My kids have encouraged me to do TikTok, to do some educational things.
I will tell you, that is the only place handing out traffic for free these days.
Right.
So like Facebook and Instagram really don't show up or do for small businesses what they used to do years ago. And TikTok is definitely the place to be for that.
So maybe I'll try it out. I can have my kids help me with that one.
Just buyer beware. TikTok will suck your whole life away from you. And when we first started, when it really became popular, I downloaded it, put it on my phone, because I just want a marketing company should know what this is all about. And then 2 hours of my life was gone because I just got stuck watching these. It pulls you in, and it's so addictive.
Yeah.
That's why I immediately deleted it off my phone.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be a bad thing.
Yes.
But very helpful.
Right.
And some, it's like I think the way that you use it.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for
right.
coming in and talking about what you do.
Thank you so much for having me,
Yeah.
Mike. I appreciate it.
And for helping all the moms out there.
That's right.
That's great stuff.
It is.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. I always say we'll see you soon, but we won't see you because this is a podcast. But you'll hear from us soon. So thanks for tuning in. The superpower that every citizen has is the ability to control where they spend their time, money, and attention. By focusing these on supporting local businesses, you are having a profound impact on your friends, your family, and your local community. So if you want to change the world, you can start with buying local.